Hello, and welcome to We Go Boldly, the podcast where where we celebrate women stepping into their power and living their most authentic lives. Things popped up on my screen while I was trying to say that. So we also celebrate the messiness of it all, which is super fun. So it is a whole new mini season. I don't
Mhm.
even know how to like put all those words together in a sentence. It is season 12 and a half, season not quite 13. It's summer season. I don't know. You pick what you want to call it. We have 4 episodes coming for you for this season, and they are a little shorter, a little later, a little more about finding the joy in your life. Before I dive into what we're talking about today, which is so loaded for me and super fun, I'm going to say hi to Tova, who is in matching green to me today. So
Yeah.
find us on YouTube and see how we matched unintentionally, and get her on the show.
Yeah. And in honor of our fun, I wore a shirt that says "Life is good" and it has a big flower on it.
I
So,
like it. I
yeah.
like it a lot.
So,
Um, okay, season 12 and a half. What are we talking about today? Oh my goodness, guys. I am struggling. Let me just start. I'm going to start over a little bit for everybody and explain to you all why my brain is not working. It is Wednesday. It also feels like the 14th day of the same week. And it is just these 2 weeks have been just like a slog of driving and working and parenting and all the things, which I'm sure so many of you can relate to, but it has my brain just like scrambled eggs. Like it is not working. So as I stumble over my words, I forget what we're talking about, lose my train of thought, I just want you all to know that like that's what's happening. And I'll do my best to keep it on topic, but literally zero promises on that front.
well,
Anyway,
and I can
okay.
add, I got up this morning at 5:15 and went to our local hospital at 6 o'clock in the morning for a test that is a 3-hour breath hydrogen test.
Mm,
So, I think it's about time I stopped pretending that maybe the reason my stomach has issues isn't just anxiety and that there could be something else going on. So the
yeah.
breath hydrogen test, you have to fast for it. So they like you to do it in the morning.
Hmm.
And you just sit there and you like blow into something and then they make you drink something. And then every 20 minutes you have to blow into something. And then every 30 minutes you have to blow into something. And the first lady was like, "Oh, it's really cold. If you want a blanket, let me know." But then the second lady, when there was only a half hour left, she's like, "You can get up and walk around between. Like, you can go sit outside." And I was like, oh, "Excellent information to have now." Um,
At the end.
yes, but today is a very long day, and this week is long. And even just like I had to have somebody come and pick up the kids to go to camp, and she was like, "Wait, you do this every day?" Like I texted her, I was like, "Okay, this is where this kid goes, and then this is this kid, and I'll be back by the 10:30 transfer from music camp back to rec camp." And she's like, "So you do this every day?" And I was like, apparently I do." It's like it seems bad when I write it out like this.
Right. You're like, it sounds worse than it. No, it actually is that bad.
Well, and it
Um,
reminds me, we're going to get to the fun. And I actually think this whole conversation is why it's so important
yeah.
to dig into the fun. But it does remind me, and this is a good reminder for everybody, when we had Christine Robinson on, and if you recall, and if you haven't listened to her episode, like listen to her episode, she's a delight. But
Hmm.
she is an HR specialist and HR professional. And one of her jobs was to, analyze if there was like a big project happening, if they needed to hire a new employee for that group, like just for the project, or if it was, something that they always needed somebody for, or whatever. And so she was really good at analyzing, like, how long do things actually take to do, how much time needs to be, dedicated to that. She's great at that for professionally, and she decided to do it for her personal life. And I want to say she had like 80 to 100 hours more worth of tasks or something that like she expected herself to be able to do each week. It was like an astronomical number. I could be exaggerating, but it was like an insane number. And I
Yeah.
think that that is just something we all do, that we're like, okay, as soon as I get 500 hours worth of work done this week,
I'll
everything will be fine.
just turn to the next 500. It'll be totally
Yeah,
fine.
and
Everything's fine.
it's so unrealistic and
Yeah.
so wacky. And my theme right now in my life is that like life happens every day, and I do think that's why we decided that having a season. I'm going to call it a bonus season, not so
Okay.
much a mini season. That's what I'm going to call it, a bonus season dedicated to the, I don't know, the joy of life was important.
Yeah. So today we are talking about, I'm going to call it fun. Other people might call it play. I don't, and there's so many reasons for that. The word play, when related to adults, for whatever reason, gives me the ick. And I just, it is what it is. Like, I can't, I tried to let it go and think about like what the reasons were. And I have some thoughts on that, which I'm not going to dive into here because it's not informative to the discussion. But I think that whatever you call it, as adults, as young adults, as children, as humans on the planet, living a life that we hope has joy and we hope has like excitement in it, we need to make time for fun and play. I don't know. It's that's a tough one for me. This is like maybe even deeper than your adventure issue. Like it's just not going away. So regardless, we're talking about fun today. And one thing, I did a little research for this, but I don't want to get too much into the science of this whole thing because like that could be a whole 3-part series as well. But one thing I read and I think really resonates with me is that fun is not frivolous, right? It is not just some silly thing we do to kill time. Fun is fundamentally, no pun intended, fundamentally necessary to our lives being joyful, right? If we're never having fun, what are we doing? What's happening on a day-to-day basis if you're just there's no fun at all? Now, I think it's important to recognize there are days where like nothing is fun and that's okay. Like we all have like this week hasn't been particularly fun for me, but that was anticipated, right? Like I just knew that I had to get through a lot of stuff. Um and then there's other weeks where it's like everything's so fun, yay. So it all balances out, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and we're using the word fun or play. Maybe not you're using the word play, but I think about this idea of joy and really like how much it really matters. Unfortunately, recently in the last 6 months, we've been doing a lot more like reading and learning about fascism and just I don't know why, anecdotally, I suppose.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yeah, just for kicks. And learning about how to protest fascism and
Mm.
protest it in a way that is not necessarily holding up a sign and being at an actual protest or even calling your elected officials.
Yeah.
And what has come out very strong, I think, is that um, fascism has the tendency to thrive in places where people have given up hope, where they have leaned into fear, um, and when there is no joy.
Right.
Like, and that is where it can really thrive because you're just like, whatever. Like, what are we even fighting for at this point? And so, fun is a good reminder. It's not, I don't want us to ever think about like, how can we be having fun when X, Y, or Z is happening? Like, how can we be having fun when all these horrible things are happening? We have to. It's
Yeah.
like a moral imperative that we have fun and that we find joy.
Yeah. So I said I wasn't going to talk much about the research, but I do want to talk about this one person that kept coming up over and over again. And his name is Dr. Stuart Brown. He's the founder of the National Institute for Play. I wish he would rename it for fun. Um, but, he does all kinds of research on play. The thing that I found the most interesting in this process of looking at why does play matter, why is it important for us as like grown humans to find the fun and to have play in our lives. And one of the things that came out of looking at all of that is this eight this identification of 8 different types of play personalities. And I will say that this revolutionized my way of thinking about play because, you know, when we're kids and we're growing up, we like there's a lot of like, oh, go outside and play. Like go play with this, play with your toys, play with whatever, whatever. And thinking about fun and play in terms of like as individuals, we have different styles, and that's, you know, like maybe something that Tova thinks is fun, I think is awful, and vice versa. And that's normal and okay. And it doesn't mean you're not a fun person or that you don't enjoy life. It means that you have different styles, and that's cool. So there's a test you can take, and we'll put it in the show notes, but there's a play personality test you can take. And in that test, they identified 8 different types of adult play personalities. And those are the collector, the competitor, the creator slash artist, director, explorer, joker, kinesthete, and storyteller. And when I took the test, like I got results that I expected to get, but it was also very helpful in me understanding, like, yeah, competitive play is not fun for me. Like, I don't find that fun. Right. And that if I joined a team, which I couldn't do anyway, but even if I did join some sort of athletic team and it was super competitive, it would feel like a job. It wouldn't feel like fun. Um, Whereas for somebody else, that's super fun and like really helps them relax and they feel excited and all those kinds of things. So it was very helpful to understand that. And I would encourage all of you out there, if you're not sure what's fun for you, because that's a real thing. Or if you're not sure how you play, to try the quiz and see what you get. And maybe it will help you start to break some of that down and understand, you know, oh, you know what? I actually have fun when I'm like imagining doing imaginative play, right? Or
Right.
when I'm collecting stamps or rocks or whatever. Um, so I don't know. I found it super helpful.
Yeah, well, and I think what's interesting is not just that you get to learn, and I think I was storyteller, which should not be a surprise to anyone, um, but that there's different definitions of fun,
Yeah.
like or play. I didn't think of, I don't know, telling a story as play, as like a thing, a fun thing, and it it very much is, right? Like it's very much a fun play type activity, but I wouldn't have categorized it as such. And
Mm-hmm.
so um I think that, you know, like you said, everyone should take this test. It broadens your, I think, idea of what could be considered play or fun.
Yeah.
And it's in a way it can all be imaginative, but it's not all like imaginative in the way that, I don't know, I traditionally think of it.
Yeah, like I think some people think of imaginative play as like you know, the land of make believe in
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which I do. And then, you know, you could think of it in a whole host of different ways. The thing that I found so helpful about taking this quiz and doing this research is that it took so much pressure off of the word play for me of like, oh, I'm not having enough fun. I'm not playing. What's wrong with me? I'm too serious. You know, those sorts of thoughts that those are stories I've told myself forever. And it's just not true. And I knew it wasn't true, but this was just another way of validating that sort of objective thought in my brain of like, oh, that's not true. I do really like to have fun, and this is how I have fun, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that can be something that really changes your perspective on what brings you joy and how to get it. You know, like how do I don't want to say achieve because that's such a loaded word, but like, how do I feel the joy of things?
Well, and just to highlight some of the science of what you shared in the research, you know, if fighting fascism isn't enough reason to have fun for you, um, it, you know, play or fun lights up creativity. It improves executive function. It reduces cortisol. Adults who play, engage in play, report higher life satisfaction and lower burnout. That's probably related to the reduction of cortisol. Um,
Yeah.
and it also can boost problem solving and empathy, even in high stress professions. And I think of that marshmallow activity where you're given a bunch of, I want to say, what are those little sticks called? Or maybe straws? I don't know. But it's an activity. You can look it up on YouTube. But essentially, what happens is a group of people, and I've actually had to do this at work, are given a bunch of sticks, and I want to say they're toothpicks, but I'm not totally sure. They're given very little to connect them, and the goal is to put the marshmallow make the marshmallow be the highest. And um, if you're looking at it just as a competition, you, Riley, would not enjoy that aspect of it. But what was interesting is the kids, kindergartners, often do better than adults because they're just problem solving. They're like, well, what if we do this and what if we do that? And then it falls down and they're like, well, let's try this. Whereas, and I can confirm this because I did this with my company, like adults take so long to plan that if their final craft doesn't, because there's a time limit, their final craft doesn't work, then they're screwed. Whereas
Yeah.
kids are like, let's just throw it up against the wall and see what happens.
Yeah.
And there's 15 different ideas and 5 kids. So now that's like sort of a competition, but it's supposed to be, it's play, and it's hitting all of those, creativity and executive function because you have to work as a team and problem solving, and it is just play inherently.
Yeah.
um, I find it really interesting, and we're not going to delve into your feelings about play completely, but women are so socialized, and this is what the insights are from the research. You said that women are so socialized to prioritize productivity, caretaking, and being good over fun. And I do wonder if that's why you had such a conflict with it, that like you were partly shooed to go do it, but
Yeah.
then maybe also were criticized if you weren't productive or properly responsible or serious. It was like, you need to be serious to do all of these things that we expect of you, but also, why are you so serious? You can't have fun. It's like, because I'm 7, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just to in my there's a lot of like I know there are a whole host of reasons that I don't enjoy the wordplay, but I also know that in like I was writing our newsletter for I don't know 1 week recently, and one of the challenge questions I put out there is, what story or what label are you letting go of? And I've been told my whole life I'm too serious. Like there are report cards from when I was in first grade that they were like, she's too serious, which is absurd, right? But it's a story I've told myself. It's a label I held onto for decades. And the reality is, I am serious. I'm serious about serious things. I'm serious about, racism. I'm serious about politics. I'm serious about my kids being good people. Like,
Right.
there are things that I am very serious about and I take very seriously. And I am proud of that. I think that's a good thing. And I think other people, frankly, should take some things more seriously. But I also like to have fun and I'm goofy and I'm ridiculous and, I do silly things. And so, one of the things I think should help us all sort of with this whole concept, if you struggle with it like me, or if you don't, doesn't really matter, but to help you understand it is that we are multidimensional humans and it's okay to be serious and it's okay to be silly. And most likely, we're all of those things, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe a little more of one than the other, right? But that's part of personality. But it's okay to be like, you can be serious and have fun. Like those things are not mutually exclusive. I want to talk a little bit about this concept in this next section of the research that I shared with you, Tova, about like how, as humans, we've really internalized this idea that joy has to be earned. Like you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to have the right to experience joy. And it's much like, feelings of worthiness and feelings of, self confidence and all those things. Like you don't have to earn those. Like they are. However, we have all been socially conditioned to think like if I don't get, the gold star, and you and I talked about this in both of our private personal interviews or whatever,
Right.
if I don't get the gold star, then I don't deserve anything. And that's bananas, right? But that is how we're conditioned. And certainly our generation and older has been conditioned to think if you're not productive, if you're not achieving, if you're not attaining, if you're not being good enough, then you don't get to have fun and you don't get to go to the party and you don't get to have the pizza or whatever.
Well, it's an interesting, I'm thinking about it as you're talking, in when it comes to sports for kids, right? because sports are inherently competitive. Oftentimes you have to try out to make the team, and you have to, and there's a score at the end of every game that you play.
Mhm.
But at the same time, for the most part, our kids are not going to be made, setting aside my son, who is 100% going to be a Major League Baseball player, for the most part, our kids are not going to be professional athletes. And the reason they participate in sports, from our perspective, is to learn communication skills, to learn how to work as a team, to have fun. And so, like, I drop my very serious baseball players off who take it all very seriously. And I'm always like, have fun. I can't wait to watch you. But just remember, have fun. It's you get to play baseball today. Like, you're getting to go play baseball. And
Yeah.
and adults get to play baseball. Like, that's how you play a sport. You don't compete. You don't say, and now we're going to go compete in baseball. No,
Yeah.
you're playing in baseball. And well, I'm 100% okay not having everybody get a trophy at the end of the season. I also understand where that concept came from and how it was like a backlash to the insanity that was just like win, 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 be
Yeah.
productive. Like, I get why everybody started handing out these like participation trophies, because win or lose, you've shown up for all those games, you've done all the practice. Now, like, my youngest kid's team has just gone on a 3-win tear, which is insane considering the same team in the fall had 0 wins. And I think in the spring had 1.
Right.
But they have gotten, like, they work hard, they get better. But the biggest difference, I think, is their coach has really focused on the fun. And when he feels like they're too stressed, he'll make a practice that's just like, everybody bring a different thing to use as a bat. And we're going to play wiffle ball with different, like, because it's fun. And so there is this struggle, I think, uh, that we feel as a society. And some of it's like just horrible outside pressure to be productive. But there's this also like inherent internal struggle to be like, but are we having fun? Or are we like playing to win? Or are we doing both? The nice thing about baseball is you can't win unless you're having fun, because it's such a mind game. Like, it's such a stressful game. Um, but it is interesting, and I watch it in even young kids, and when we're relatively enlightened about this stuff, it's confusing.
It is confusing, and as adults it's confusing, as kids it's confusing, right? Like, understanding the barriers to having fun, to playing as an adult, what you've talked about a bunch of them, like this idea that you have to be productive all the time,
Yeah.
which is exhausting. But then, also it's hard to make time for fun because we're tired. Like,
Yeah.
we're parenting, or we're taking care of our parents, or we're working, or we're fighting fascism, we're engaged in our communities, we're starting nonprofits, like we're out there doing. And so sometimes, rest is really all we can do, and that maybe that doesn't seem like fun. But I would put it in the fun category in some
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of folks, and this is one that I used to struggle with a lot, and have reshaped my thought process around. But a lot of people are like, what will other people think if I'm being silly? What will people judge me if I have like a weird hobby, weird in quotes? Like, what will people think about me? And can I just have a hobby and not turn it into an Etsy store? Like, am I allowed to just do it to do it with
Right.
no purpose or outcome, right? I mean, it does have a purpose. The purpose is fun. But like, again, it's just the way in which we talk about these things that I think gets in the way.
I find there's a quote here that's just like screaming at me that I want to like put on my wall in bright paint, that says, choosing joy is a radical refusal to live in survival mode. And, there are so many things that are like, don't just survive, you want to thrive. And I am always like, I don't just want to survive, but also thriving feels like a very big reach.
It's
Um,
like a lot of pressure.
yeah, like that seems like a lot. But like the idea of choosing joy each day, even when you're in survival mode, because we're not choosing happiness, which to me is like an overwhelming like sense of contentment that like you're not going to necessarily feel day to day. But joy could be 15 seconds. It could be a belly laugh.
Yeah.
It could be watching a funny YouTube video with your kids. It could be saying after a game, like, let's go get ice cream if you have time. Or, hey, we have ice cream at home, but let's turn the ice cream into sundaes. Or like, but it can be like a 15-second activity. And
Yeah. And
it
I
can,
just I want to add to that, and then I'll let you continue, but it
no,
can
that's it.
also be remembering the 15-second activity that you
Yes.
did earlier in the day, right? Like there are times where I remember some funny thing my kid said, or like a weird dance he did in the living room, and I chuckle, right? Like I have a little laugh about it. Or like you and I have all we share memes all day long. Like or reels or whatever, and like I'll think about one that I saw, like the one I sent you about the guy trying to play in the playground. I keep thinking about that. Like he got on one of those bouncy things and just fell right off. And I was like, yep, that's another reason I don't like the word play. Um, but remembering those things is
Yeah.
is also a form of play. So I think we need to expand our expectation of what can be considered play,
Yeah.
um, and allow
Yes.
that to help us. And you talked about this a little at the beginning, and I think it's important to reiterate that, joy is resistance, right? Like, especially for women, because
Yes.
frankly, we're just getting crapped on right now. And like, we have forever, but like, it feels a lot heavier right now. And raising a daughter, it feels like insane. I mean, raising any children really,
I
but
was going to
like,
say raising a son is no party right now because
but looking at my daughter and thinking, like, oh my God, this is the future we're leaving you. That's wow. Um, but there's a sentence in here that like we can redefine fun, and we can change it to be like freedom to be silly, reconnecting with your body, creating without a purpose, laughing for no reason. Like, just the act of doing those things is taking back our power over our own lives.
and just as an aside, if you're watching on YouTube and I'm laughing, so for a second there, this is a joyful moment. I forgot I had a dog. And he must have been in a room with my son, and he opened up the door, and then he came tearing out. And I was like, "What is that?" And then also, he was playing now very aggressively with a ball. He does not play with balls. He doesn't play catch. He
He's like,
doesn't,
I want to join the podcast and show you all what fun
and he
is.
is playing. He is, and now he has his stuffy, his favorite stuffy, Mr. Moosey Moose, and he's like running back and forth, squeaking it and playing with it. So he is all in on fun and making noise.
He's like,
And he's
listen,
like,
people, get out there.
he's like right next to me. He's like, come on, people, just grab your favorite stuffed animal, put it in your mouth, and run around. Like, he's like, anything can be fun. But I just had to start laughing because you're like, just reflecting, anything can be funny. And he's like, you might laugh about nothing. And I just started laughing at my dog.
Yeah, well, I can
Um,
hear the squeaky. I don't know if our listeners will be able to hear it, but like the squeaky toy is squeaking, and it is funny and it is fun, and we can laugh about these things, and that's part of our joy, right? Like that's part of. It's also part of building community and like being in
yeah.
it together, and all of that's important. Um, so we have a challenge for you all, and we want you to, if you can, I hope you can. Well, I know you can, but if you're willing, try to participate this week in some little bit of joy every day. So you can take the play quiz. We'll put that in our show notes, share it on our social media, as I said. You can do any number of things that might bring you joy. A couple from the research were like blowing bubbles, playing dress up with your kids, call a friend, play a silly game, start a new collection, join a rec league sport if that's your jam, start a book club. There's like, I don't know, the dance to a 90s song in your kitchen. I don't know why 90s, but that's what they put
I
in
mean,
there. So
I do that quite often.
yeah.
So,
And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be on that list, but try something every day, and then share it. Share your joy, because we haven't really touched on that as much. But that's a big
mm,
part of resisting, um, not just fascism, but resisting the patriarchy, resisting the negativity that is like swirling in our world right now. And that is to share the joy. Just like we asked you to tell your story to someone, to share your story with people, share your joy with people because it does bring joy. When I hear a funny story, I'm laughing, right? Like when somebody's like, watch me do a cartwheel. I had in my other life, I had a coach that I work with do a cartwheel for the first time. It was hilarious. She was laughing hysterically. I cannot currently do a cartwheel. You know, at our age, sometimes it's like, oh, really? Can I make my body do this? I don't know. And it was fun and it was funny. And I still think about it, right? So share it with each other. Share it with us. You can tag us on Instagram at Go Boldly Together. You can use the hashtag joy as resistance and let us know what you're doing to make your life more joyful and share it with us.
Yeah, I you know, I will set that as a goal for this month of August to see how much we can share our joy.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm reading one more line that's on this outline, and it says, "Play isn't about being childish; it's about reclaiming the parts of ourselves we buried." But also, it can be about being childish. Like,
Right.
if that's for some of you, you have a super healed inner child, and you're like good to go, and you're like, "I'll just have fun because it's fun." But for others of you, maybe this is what you need to do to I don't know, heal that inner child
Yeah.
or touch, you know, touch yourself, but in a different way, because that just sounds weird when I say that. Um, um, but you know, to find the part of yourself that is still mourning not having something that was, you know, joyful for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I I'm excited about the rest of the season. I'm excited about seeing what August brings with our Joy as Resistance challenge. And I think next episode we're going to be talking about books.
Yeah.
Did I
We're
get
going to be
that
talking
right?
about books that
Books.
changed our lives, impacted us deeply. Um,
Maybe brought us a
and
little joy.
yeah, hopefully it brought us some joy, not just, oh no, I have so much work to do. Um, but I want to close this out and saying, there in this outline and this is from a little bit of AI in here, so I'm not sure who says this, and that I hate that about AI. Um, I'll try and figure it out and share it. But basically, the reminder in here is that fun is sacred, it's powerful, and you don't have to justify your joy. The things that bring you joy don't require other people's approval, unless they require consent, and then get consent. But it's just something to remember, that joy is not something you have to justify. You can feel and find joy in whatever works for you. So, um, that's our episode for this week. Like we said, we're going to keep them short and sweet right now. And we want to hear from you. Share with us at Go Boldly Together on Instagram. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can go to our website. Don't forget, our weekly women's circle is a great place to find joy. You can learn more about that at goboldlyinitiative.com/weekly circle. And I think that does it for this week.
I
Like
think
Tova
so.
said, we'll be back next week to talk all about books. So get your book list together and get ready to share. Thanks, everybody.